Hey guys, tonight we drift into a place you've probably never been before, unless you've dreamed very strangely or maybe fallen asleep after eating too many midnight pancakes. Imagine this. You're floating through the velvet dark of space, where stars hang like lanterns scattered across a black ocean. No gravity, no ground beneath you, only the hush of eternity. You tilt forward and there, glowing in neon letters the size of moons, is a sign that reads, Cosmic Diner, open all hours of the universe. You probably won't survive this in any logical sense, but survival was never really part of the deal when you walked or floated through that door. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I like imagining all of us scattered like constellations across the earth, tuning into the same strange journey. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The door swings open with a creak that feels impossibly loud against the silence of space. You drift inside. The place looks like a classic roadside diner. Checkered floor tiles, chrome stools line up against the counter, a jukebox humming quietly in the corner, but the walls stretch upward into infinity. Instead of ceiling, galaxies rotate slowly above your head. Every booth is lit by its own hovering little sun. And the smell? Warm butter, maple syrup, roasted coffee beans. So familiar, so impossibly comforting that you forget for a second you're adrift between galaxies. You slide into a booth, but the vinyl seat shifts like it's made from dark matter. Your reflection stares back at you in the chrome napkin holder, but it's not quite your face. It's flickering between versions, younger, older, a little different every second. Like the universe can't decide which timeline you belong to. A waitress floats over. She's human, or maybe close enough. Hair tied in a beehive that defies gravity. Apron glowing with starlight. Eyes just a little too large. As though she sees not only you, but all the possible yous at once. She asks, without even opening her mouth, "First time?" You nod. She slides a menu across the table. The cover reads, The Pancakes of Paradox. Inside, there are no prices, just consequences. Blueberry pancakes with quantum syrup. Eat and visit the day your grandfather was born. Buttermilk with wormhole butter. Fold space while you chew, arriving before you start. Chocolate chip infinity stack. Every bite multiplies you across parallel universes, one of which definitely spills syrup on their shirt. You glance up at her, confused. She just shrugs, as if to say, everyone orders something. Eventually, your hand hovers over the menu. Which stack do you choose? And even as you hesitate, you realize something important. In this diner, indecision is also a choice. The first plate arrives without you speaking. 3 steaming pancakes, golden at the edges, a pat of butter melting like a yellow sun across their surface. The butter slides in slow motion, as if time itself is thickened here. Syrup stretched across eternity. You pick up the fork. It's heavier than it should be, like it's forged from collapsed stars. The moment your fingers close around it, you feel a vibration up your arm, as though the utensil knows every ancestor who ever held a fork before you. A little unsettling, but also strangely reassuring. Like you're part of a chain, an unbroken line of meals across centuries. Here's your first joke, because even in the middle of a cosmic diner, comedy survives. You probably didn't think time travel would begin with utensils. Forget wormholes. Forget particle accelerators. The real secret to rewriting history? Cutlery. The pancakes taste like childhood mornings you can't quite place. sunlight on the kitchen table, the hum of a refrigerator, laughter you half remember but can't source. Sweet, warm, but tinged with something odd, like cinnamon from a spice rack that never existed. Each bite thickens the air. You feel gravity pulling differently around you, like someone's rewinding the tape of your life in real time. Here's a science fact to ground us. Scientists say time is relative, not absolute. Einstein showed that if you move close to the speed of light, time slows down for you compared to someone standing still. Astronauts on the International Space Station actually experience time passing a fraction of a second slower than we do on Earth. That's real physics. Here's the weird fringe tidbit. Some conspiracy theorists believe secret government projects have already harnessed this, using food or chemicals as anchors to stabilize travelers jumping between timelines. Pancakes, of all things, have never come up in those theories, but maybe that's just because no one survived to file the report. And here's the open debate. Scientists still argue whether time is truly linear or whether all moments exist simultaneously, stacked like, well, pancakes. If every second is already out there, does free will even exist? Or are you just a fork gliding along syrupy grooves that were set the moment the universe began? The booth's chrome trim ripples. The jukebox song begins to slow down, like the record is melting. You glance outside the diner windows, expecting space. But it's not space anymore. Instead, you see a hallway lined with photographs. You recognize one. A family gathering from decades ago. There you are, smaller, Messier hair, syrup smeared across your face. You blink and the photo is gone, replaced by another. This time it's your grandfather, younger than you ever knew him, sleeves rolled up, a glint of mischief in his eye as though he already suspects what you're about to do. The fork in your hand trembles. Maybe it's the caffeine from the Paradox coffee pot, or maybe it's the sudden weight of choice pressing on your shoulders. You remember the menu line. Eat and visit the day your grandfather was born. You've already taken a bite, which means the floor tilts. Syrup floods the booth, golden and sticky, rising to your waist, your chest, your throat. You gasp. But instead of drowning, you find yourself drifting, carried along by a current of sweetness that stretches into forever. The waitress waves goodbye. She mouths a phrase you almost hear but can't fully catch. Something like, "Don't forget who ordered first." The diner vanishes. You tumble through syrupy light. Stars smear like spilled sugar across a tablecloth. You feel your body flicker, child, adult, elder, child again, as though time has lost patience with your insistence on staying in one version of yourself. And then, with a soft thunk, your feet touch solid ground. Grass. Earth. You know this place even though you've never seen it. A farmhouse. A porch swing creaking in the warm wind. The scent of something baking inside. A baby cries upstairs. You've landed on the day your grandfather was born. Your fork is still in your hand, dripping with maple syrup. The cry upstairs sharpens in your ears. It isn't just background noise. It's pulling at you, tugging like gravity. You stand in the farmhouse yard, still holding that star-forged fork, syrup dripping onto the grass. The droplets don't sink. They glow faintly, like little suns burning themselves out on the blades. You wonder if you've just contaminated the past with future sugar. Someone's going to mow the lawn and invent a new religion based on those glowing patches. The door creaks open. A woman steps onto the porch, wiping flour from her hands onto an apron. Her hair is pinned back in a style you've only seen in old black and white photos, the kind you flip past in family albums and never really studied. She doesn't notice you. Or maybe she notices but decides you're a trick of the afternoon sun. People have been ignoring the impossible for centuries. It's a skill. The cry from inside grows louder. That's him. Your grandfather, brand new, unscripted, wrapped in the first few breaths of life. You realize you are standing in a precise paradox you've always heard about, the grandfather paradox. If you do something reckless, knock over the wrong lamp, sneeze too hard, accidentally introduce futuristic pancake bacteria, you risk undoing yourself. But here's the twist. You've already eaten, which means this was always part of your timeline. The fork was inevitable, the syrup stains were inevitable, and maybe you being here is inevitable too. You try the front steps. They creak, but hold. The woman inside hums a tune while moving about, comforting the infant. You don't dare step closer. The rules feel thin, fragile, like tissue paper stretched over fire. But the longer you stand in the doorway, the more you realize the paradox doesn't just want to test you. It wants to feed you, as though this moment itself is another course in the cosmic diner. Your stomach twists. You're not sure if it's hunger or dread. Here's your science fact. The grandfather paradox was first seriously discussed in the early 20th century when scientists began grappling with relativity and time travel. The problem is simple to state. If you go back and prevent your grandfather from existing, then you never exist to go back in time in the first place. It's a loop that collapses in on itself. No consistent resolution. Here's your fringe tidbit. Some alternative theorists suggest that paradoxes don't destroy timelines. They spawn new ones. Instead of erasing yourself, you simply branch off into a universe where things unfold differently. In that logic, you could prevent your grandfather's birth here and still return to a different reality where you never existed. But the original universe remains untouched, pancakes intact. And here's the scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether the universe forbids paradoxes entirely through some self-consistency principle, meaning you can't change the past no matter how you try, or whether every action just creates new threads. No agreement, no proof. Just open questions that taste a lot like maple syrup, sticky and endless. You look down at the fork again. It pulses faintly, like it's aware of the baby upstairs. You can almost hear it whispering choices. Stab the earth. Scratch a mark into the porch railing. Drop it and walk away. Each act feels magnified. Suddenly you understand why diners put forks in little paper sleeves. Not for cleanliness, but to keep history safe until dessert. The porch swing groans in the wind. A voice calls from inside, a man's this time. Deeper, steadier. You know without knowing that it's your great-grandfather. The urge to look, to see his face, is overwhelming. You creep inside. The kitchen smells of bread baking, sharp yeast, and warmth. The floorboards sigh beneath your weight. You move slowly, like a shadow stitched into the wrong decade. Down the hall, the man appears, holding a pitcher of water, whistling softly. His features lock you in place. His jaw, his posture, even the curve of his nose, all faintly mirrored in your own. Seeing him is like staring at a sketch of yourself drawn by someone who never met you but guessed the shape anyway. The baby upstairs cries again. That cry is your existence on trial. Joke time. Because tension needs release. You briefly consider asking your great-grandfather where the bathroom is. Imagine explaining that in 19-something. Excuse me, sir. I've just fallen through pancakes and paradoxes, but I really need your outhouse. Not the legacy anyone wants to leave. You back up. You don't want him to see you. Maybe you already exist because you stayed hidden. Maybe catching his eye would splinter everything. Your body feels stretched. as if the universe is trying to pull you out of this moment, tugging at your limbs with invisible taffy hands. Outside again, you collapse on the grass. The syrup stains are spreading. Every drop has sprouted tiny shoots of glowing wheat, stalks of golden grain that sway though there's no wind. You didn't mean to plant the seeds of cosmic agriculture, but apparently history has a sense of humor. Maybe the first pancakes were destined to be grown here. The farmhouse fades at the edges. Time is leaking. You realize you can't stay much longer. The paradox is a tide, and you're just a pebble caught in its pull. You grip the fork tighter. The air thickens, syrup rising in invisible waves. Your last glimpse is of the upstairs window, curtain drawn back, and a woman rocking a newborn child. You don't dare look too closely at the infant's face. The world flips. You're falling again, sticky and weightless. You slam back into the diner booth. The pancakes are half-eaten, fork sticky, plate steaming like nothing happened. The waitress raises an eyebrow as if to say, "You didn't ruin the universe, did you?" You shrug, because honestly you're not sure. The jukebox hums. Outside the window, space stretches forever. You sip water that tastes suspiciously like melted starlight. And for the first time you wonder, if you've already survived one paradox, how many more are waiting on the menu? The waitress places another plate in front of you. This time it's not pancakes. It's a butterfly, wings patterned with galaxies, perched on a dollop of cream. The butterfly twitches its wings, scattering little flecks of starlight across the tabletop. You lean closer. The wings don't look painted. They look alive with entire spirals of galaxies, as though the cosmos itself decided to perch here just to watch you eat. The waitress doesn't comment. She just wipes down the counter with a rag that appears to be made of nebulae. You want to ask her why there's a butterfly instead of pancakes, but you already know the answer. The diner serves consequences, not choices. The butterfly flaps once, twice. Each flap shakes the booth like turbulence on an airplane. Outside the windows, you see it happening. A ripple spreads to the starfield, bending constellations into unfamiliar shapes. The Big Dipper warps into a ladle. The Orion belt shifts until it resembles a tangled shoelace. One insect, one gentle flap, rewriting entire skies. Here's your science fact. The butterfly effect is a concept from chaos theory. Small changes in initial conditions, like a butterfly flapping its wings, can cause massive differences in outcomes, like a tornado forming weeks later. Edward Lorenz, the mathematician who popularized it, discovered it while running weather models on an early computer. A tiny rounding error led to completely different forecasts. The idea stuck because it sounds almost magical. Here's your fringe tidbit. Some fringe thinkers claim they've experienced butterfly effect time slips. One man swore he bought a soda from a vending machine, blinked, and it had a different brand name. He insisted it wasn't a trick of memory, but a glitch in reality caused by some micro change, like a butterfly bumping into the wrong molecule of air. And here's the scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether the butterfly effect is universally true or just a limitation of how we measure chaotic systems. Is the universe really that sensitive? Or does it only look sensitive because we don't yet understand the deep rules beneath the chaos? The butterfly looks at you. At least, it feels like it does. Its eyes are black pinpricks, but you feel weighed down by its attention. You don't dare touch it. You imagine what one poke might do: erase the moon, change your favorite color, undo the specific craving that brought you to pancakes in the first place. But curiosity is stubborn. You breathe on it. Just a soft exhale, nothing dramatic. The butterfly shivers, and then everything shifts. The diner flickers. The jukebox music skips, stuttering through fragments of songs that never existed. One moment you're hearing Elvis. The next it's a pop song you don't recognize but somehow know the lyrics to. In another beat, it's silence. An empty groove with no track at all. Your booth warps. Instead of red vinyl, it's covered in floral fabric that reminds you of your grandmother's couch. You blink again, and its plastic lawn chairs are bolted to the floor. Then steel benches, cold and military. Each version is a different butterfly wing beat of history. You look down at your hands. For one blink, they're small and pudgy, child hands. For another, spotted and frail, elder hands. Then back to normal. The butterfly hasn't moved. It just flaps once more and the diner spins. You find yourself outside. A different outside. The sign still says Cosmic Diner, but now it hangs crooked, letters missing. Instead of galaxies above, there's a hazy orange sky. No stars in sight. The ground beneath your feet is dust, cracked and thirsty. You hear footsteps. Someone approaches. A child. You freeze because the child looks familiar. Too familiar. The same round cheeks you saw in your reflection earlier. The same uncertain squint. It's you. Not a younger you this time, but an alternate you, the one who grew up in a world where the diner stood in the middle of a desert instead of orbiting stars. The child stares, tilts their head, and says, "Did you flap it?" Your throat dries. You want to answer, but the truth is tangled. Maybe you did. Maybe you were always going to. Joke time. You imagine telling the kid, "Don't worry, I've got it under control. I'm a professional time traveler with pancake experience." But then you picture the child rolling their eyes the way you would, and decide not to embarrass yourself in front of your own alternate self. The butterfly launches from the cream dollop and hovers into the dusty air. It leaves behind a streak of golden powder, like comet dust. The child, you, tries to catch it, hands outstretched. You almost want him to succeed, but a dread deepens in your gut. What happens if you catch yourself catching the cause of your own collapse? The math starts to feel like a bad riddle. The butterfly escapes upward, vanishing into the orange haze. The desert crumbles. The child fades, waving once before flickering out like a skip frame on an old VHS. The diner booth snaps back around you. Vinyl, chrome, butter, syrup, as if nothing happened. The butterfly is gone. The cream melted into your plate. The waitress leans on the counter, eyes glinting. "Messy, isn't it?" she says. Her voice is like two radios slightly out of tune. One flap, and you're swimming through yourself. You nod. You want to ask how many versions of you she's seen, but you're afraid of the number. Instead, you pick up your fork again. The pancakes are waiting, and they look different now. Taller, stacked higher than before. Each layer faintly glowing, like a skyscraper of universes piled onto one plate. You stare at the stack. It isn't just pancakes anymore. Each layer radiates its own glow. Pale at the bottom, almost blinding at the top. The fork in your hand feels heavier again, like it's reluctant to approach. You glance up, and that's when you see him. He's already sitting across from you, casually flipping through the laminated menu, as if he's been there the whole time. Your grandfather, not the baby you avoided upstairs in the farmhouse, but the man you remember, though younger, sharper, dressed in a jacket that seemed stitched together from midnight. He looks up and grins. "About time you ordered," he says, voice warm but edged with something that makes your pulse tighten. "I was starting to think you'd never show." The diner hums louder. Neon lights buzz, each flicker stretching into 1,000 echoes. The waitress pretends not to notice that an ancestor has appeared in your booth without explanation. You try to speak, but your throat catches on the absurdity. What's the etiquette when your grandfather, who should belong to a different decade entirely, slides into a cosmic diner to share breakfast? He solved the problem by ordering first. "Coffee," he tells the waitress. "Black, paradox blend." She nods like she knew his order all along. The mug arrives instantly, steaming, the liquid inside so dark it swallows a reflection of the diner lights. He takes a sip, eyes never leaving yours. Here's your science fact. Coffee, in reality, is a time machine of sorts. Caffeine blocks adenosine, the chemical in your brain that tells you you're tired. By doing so, it temporarily tricks your body into ignoring the buildup of fatigue. Some researchers even describe caffeine as borrowing time from your future self. It doesn't erase exhaustion. It just delays it, creating a tiny paradox of energy. Here's your fringe tidbit. Rumors float around online about secret cafes in old European cities where patrons swear they've glimpsed themselves at other tables, sipping from cups seconds ahead in time. One man wrote that he spilled sugar, then watched himself cleaning it up before the crystals even hit the table. The cafe allegedly vanished a week later, boarded up without explanation. And here's the scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether time travel is theoretically possible at all, even under relativity. Wormholes, closed time-like curves, cosmic strings. They exist on chalkboards and equations. But can the universe actually permit a self-consistent loop? Some say yes, some say no, and some sip coffee while shrugging. Your grandfather sets the mug down. "You don't look surprised enough," he says. "That tells me you've been warned." You shake your head. "I saw the day you were born." He chuckles. "Then you know how fragile it all is. One misplaced step, and poof, no pancakes, no me, no you." He taps the edge of your plate. The pancakes wobble, shiver, and suddenly they're not food at all. They're spinning discs of light, layered on top of each other like records stacked on a turntable. Each one hums with a different note, vibrating in harmony. "Every choice is a layer," he says. "Every mistake is syrup sliding where it shouldn't." And here's the trick. You never eat just one pancake. You eat the whole stack, whether you know it or not. The jukebox scratches into a new tune. You recognize it faintly, something your grandfather used to whistle when fixing things in the garage. It's a lullaby now, stretched and slowed until it sounds cosmic. You lean forward. "Why are you here?" He laughs softly, but his face hardens around the eyes. "To see if you'll undo me. Isn't that the whole paradox? If you decide to cut me out of the stack, you cut yourself out too." The fork is suddenly very heavy. You imagine setting it down, refusing to play. But the pancakes still glow, demanding attention. Your grandfather raises his mug like toast. "Eat carefully," he says, "or don't eat at all. But know this, the diner doesn't like uneaten food." Joke time. You consider asking if the diner offers a grandson discount. Maybe something like, "If I undo you, do I at least get half off my bill?" But the look in his eyes warns you that humor is the kind of syrup that spills too easily here. Instead, you cut a bite. The fork slides through light like butter, and when you lift it, you see not a pancake, but a moving scene. Your grandfather, young, running down a street at dusk, chased by a dog. Another bite. Him sitting at a table, writing a letter you don't remember ever seeing. Another. Him older, coughing, clutching his chest. Each layer is his life unfolding in real time. "See," he murmurs, "every bite carries me closer to you, closer to now." You hesitate. The paradox presses against your chest like a weight. If you keep eating, do you consume him out of existence? Or do you solidify him, stitch his life permanently into the cosmic cookbook? The waitress drifts by, placing a small saucer on the table. On it rests a sugar packet labeled simply, "Erase." Your grandfather watches you, sipping coffee. He doesn't move to stop you. The diner lights flicker again. For a second, the booth is empty. No grandfather, no pancakes, only you and a fork. Then he's back, as though nothing shifted. You realize this is a test, and you are very much failing it. Outside the window, galaxies collapse into spirals of butter and reform as neatly stacked flapjacks. The whole universe seems to be in on the joke. You set down the fork. The sugar packet glows faintly between you both. Your grandfather leans forward. Choose, or the diner chooses for you. The jukebox falls silent. The air holds its breath. The sugar packet sits like dynamite between you. Just a rectangle of paper. Nothing more than a sprinkle's worth inside. But the word erase pulses faintly, as if ink itself is alive. You don't want to touch it. You don't even want to breathe too close. It feels like the kind of sugar that doesn't dissolve in coffee. It dissolves whole bloodlines. Your grandfather leans back in the booth, arms crossed. His expression is unreadable. 1 minute it looks like pride. The next it looks like warning. He doesn't blink. You wonder if you're staring at him or at a possibility of him. Like this version exists only while you hesitate. The pancakes glow faintly on your plate. The butter slides down their surface in slow motion. The way glaciers creep over mountains. A drop of syrup clings to the forked time and stretches, impossibly long, like it's reluctant to let go. You realize that even hesitation is rewriting something. A butterfly doesn't have to flap for chaos to bloom. Sometimes all it takes is stillness. You hear a noise, soft at first, then louder, a flutter, a ripple like wings. But it isn't the butterfly from before. It's dozens, maybe hundreds. They crawl across the booth's chrome, perch on the napkin dispenser, and land on your shoulder. Every wing beat alters something. You look outside the diner window and see ripples across the cosmos. A star explodes here. A planet reforms there. Constellations scramble into nonsense. The Orion you grew up recognizing is now a lopsided chair. The butterflies don't speak, not with words, but you understand them. Each one represents a choice you never noticed you made. Stirring coffee clockwise instead of counterclockwise. Deciding to sit by the window instead of the aisle. Smiling at a stranger in an elevator. Every trivial motion is a butterfly perched in the fabric of your life, flapping away unseen storms. Here's your science fact. Chaos theory shows us that deterministic systems, like weather, can still be unpredictable. A single variable can magnify until long-term predictions collapse. That's why meteorologists rarely forecast beyond 10 days with confidence. Past that, the butterfly effect eats the data alive. Here's your fringe tidbit. Some New Age groups believe meditation can consciously direct the butterfly effect. They'll tell you that aligning your thoughts at just the right frequency allows you to ripple change across timelines. According to one story, a woman swore she meditated on finding love and woke up in a reality where her husband of 10 years claimed they'd always been together. Whether that's delusion or proof is anyone's guess. And here's the scholarly debate. Physicists still argue whether small changes really cascade indefinitely, or whether the universe averages out chaos in the long run. Is every butterfly important? Or do enough flaps cancel each other out, like background noise? No clear answer, just fluttering uncertainty. The butterflies grow restless. They scatter across the diner, landing on pancakes, mugs, even the waitress's apron. She doesn't shoo them away. She simply hums, as though they've always been part of the decor. Your grandfather sips his paradox coffee unfazed, though one butterfly perches directly on his wrist. He finally speaks. This is the test, you know? Not killing, not saving, just realizing how fragile everything is. You almost laugh, though it comes out cracked. You're telling me my whole existence depends on whether I drop syrup on my shirt? He grins. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But can you live with not knowing? The joke slips out before you can stop it. So what you're saying is, I should always order waffles. Less surface area for catastrophe. Your grandfather chuckles, shaking his head. The sound is too human, too normal, in the middle of a diner vibrating with paradoxes. But the sugar packet still sits between you, waiting. You reach toward it, not to tear it open, just to touch it. The paper feels warm, like skin. You jerk back. The butterflies rise in a shimmering storm, filling the diner with galaxies of wings. The lights flicker. The jukebox sputters into silence. The waitress steps forward. Her apron is now patterned with constellations. She sets another plate on the table, balancing it carefully. This one isn't pancakes. It's an empty dish rimmed in syrup. Every choice leaves crumbs, she says. And crumbs always lead somewhere. She glides away. You and your grandfather stare at the empty plate. He drains the last of his coffee and sets the mug down with a soft clink. You think it's the big decisions that matter, he says, but it's the small ones that build a stack. The butterflies vanish, one by one, winking out like sparks. The booth feels too quiet without their wings. The sugar packet has gone cold, as though waiting for you to forget it exists. You glance down at the pancakes. A new one has appeared at the bottom of the stack. Thicker, darker, heavy with unseen weight. You don't remember ordering it. You don't even remember it arriving. Your grandfather leans forward, eyes sharp. Eat carefully, he says again, because the next bite might decide whether I keep existing at all. The fork hovers over your plate. You wonder if every bite is really a choice, or the diner has already decided which pancakes you'll finish. The fork hovers over that new, dark pancake, like a pendulum. Your hand trembles, but not from weakness, from awareness. You can feel it in your bones. This is the moment the diner has been coaxing you toward. The light pancakes, the butterfly, the sugar packet labeled erase, all appetizers to this. You lower the fork, but before it pierces the surface, you sense movement around you. At first, it's subtle, a shadow sweeping past the booth, a reflection in the chrome napkin holder that isn't yours. Then the sound, soft footsteps, padded, deliberate. You glance up. The diner isn't empty anymore. They arrive quietly, carrying trays, refilling coffee mugs that weren't empty, wiping down tables that had no crumbs. The alien waiters. Some look almost human, if you don't stare too long. Others don't bother pretending. One has translucent skin, muscles and veins like luminous wires beneath the surface. Another has 3 arms, moving in perfect sync, balancing a plate of toast on one hand while pouring syrup with the other 2. Their uniforms are all the same, crisp aprons stitched with shifting constellations. They glide between booths with the efficiency of seasoned staff. But every so often, you catch their eyes on you. Not curiosity, recognition, as if they've seen you many times before. Your grandfather doesn't react. He sips from his empty mug as though it still contains coffee. You start to speak, but one of the waiters is suddenly beside you. A tall figure, eyes like polished obsidian, apron shimmering faintly. Without a word, they top off your glass of water. The liquid glows faintly as it pours, little stars swirling inside. They lean down, close enough that you feel their breath, though you're not sure they breathe air at all. "We've seen this loop," they whisper. Their voice is a chord, 3 notes layered together. You always hesitate here. You always doubt the fork. And then you always order more. They step back, vanish into the diner's hum. Here's your science fact. Scientists who study cosmology sometimes compare the universe to a simulation. If time is infinite, then loops, patterns that repeat endlessly, aren't just possible, they're inevitable. The equations that govern closed time-like curves suggest that events can fold back onto themselves, like tape spliced into an endless reel. Here's your fringe tidbit. One theory floating around online insists that déjà vu is evidence of time waiters, beings outside the flow, checking whether you're still on script. When you feel déjà vu, they say, it's because a waiter leaned in too close, reminding you you've lived this moment already. And here's the scholarly debate. Physicists still argue whether the universe cares about paradoxes. Does it enforce consistency like a stern parent, or allow chaos to branch freely? If loops exist, are they traps, prisons of inevitability, or simply the natural order of things? The alien waiters continue their rounds, but you notice something uncanny. They're not serving anyone else. Every booth is empty, yet they fuss with invisible patrons. One sets down a plate of bacon, but the plate vanishes the moment it leaves his hand. Another refills a mug, though no mug is there. The diner is full of ghosts you can't see, and the waiters are tending to them like loyal staff. Your grandfather clears his throat. "They're not here for me," he says softly. "They're here for you." One of the waiters stops beside your booth, head tilting at an impossible angle. "You've eaten this meal countless times," they murmur. Sometimes you erase him. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you walk out before the check. But the diner always resets. It always calls you back. You want to argue, but your mouth is dry. The truth of it hums in your ribs. Joke time, because your brain needs it. You imagine asking the waiter if they at least offer a loyalty card. Eat 10 Paradox pancakes. Get 1 free. Maybe the 11th meal is just toast, something harmless. But you don't dare say it out loud. Instead, you ask, "What happens if I refuse?" The waiter blinks slowly. Their eyes ripple like water. "Refusal is also a course," they say. "One we've served many times." Your grandfather leans forward, eyes sharp. Don't believe everything they tell you. They've been waiting tables longer than I've been alive. But not every customer pays the same bill. The air thickens. You realize the diner is quieter now, the jukebox silenced, the hum gone. Only the alien waiters remain, watching you in their subtle, unsettling ways. The dark pancake steams faintly, like it's alive. The fork is heavy in your hand. You think about the sugar packet still resting nearby, about the butterfly wings, about the farmhouse. Every piece has been part of a test you didn't sign up for, yet here you are. Your grandfather finishes his invisible coffee and sets the mug down firmly. "Choose," he says. "Eat or don't. But remember, every time you think you're breaking the loop, you're probably just following it." The alien waiter returns, sliding a slip of paper across the table. Not a check, not a bill, just one sentence, scrawled in shifting ink. The syrup never forgets. You blink, and the paper is gone. You grip the fork tighter. The diner waits. The pancakes breathe. The waiters hover, silent and knowing. and the syrup glistens on a plate like time itself, pooling in patterns you almost recognize, like constellations of choices you've made before. The fork never touches the pancake. At least, not yet. You find yourself staring at the syrup instead, tracing the way it glistens under the flickering diner lights. It spreads into pools, tiny rivers of amber, curling into constellations across the plate. Orion, Cassiopeia, and then something stranger, an outline that looks eerily like your own silhouette slumped in this booth. You blink, and it ripples into something else. Your grandfather coughs softly. "You're stalling," he says. He's not wrong. But it's hard to stab the pancake when it's busy reflecting your entire existence back at you. The alien waiters are still there, pretending not to hover, but their movements orbit you the way moons circle a gas giant. One of them drifts close enough to slide a small, silver pitcher across the table. Not maple syrup. Something thicker, darker, with a shimmer like crude oil lit from within. The label on the pitcher shifts as you look at it. 1 second it reads past. The next second, future. Then it flashes neither. Here's your science fact. In physics, there's an idea called the arrow of time. It points forward because entropy, the tendency for disorder to increase, always goes up. Coffee cools, glasses shatter, eggs scramble. But in theory, the equations of relativity don't care which way the arrow points. If time could reverse, the math would still work. Here's your fringe tidbit. Some New Age groups believe syrup itself has memory. Not water, syrup. They claim the viscosity traps vibrations of human thought. You laugh. But staring into this alien picture, you're not entirely sure they're wrong. And here's the scholarly debate. Physicists still argue whether time travel will let you actually change events, or if every action you take is already baked into the timeline, like syrup soaking into a pancake. Sticky, irreversible, permanent. The pitcher hums faintly, and for a moment you're sure you hear whispers inside it. Not random whispers. Your voice, but layered. Versions of you debating whether to pour. One says, "Do it." Another hisses, "Don't." A third mutters, "You already did." You set it down quickly. The alien waiter smiles, a thin, inhuman stretch of lips, and glides away. Your grandfather leans in. "The syrup's trick is simple," he says. "It shows you possibilities. Pour it, and you'll see every version of this meal you've ever eaten. But seeing is a trap. Once you know, you can't unknow." The diner feels smaller now, claustrophobic. The waiter's movements blur together. Trails of light behind them, as if time itself is fraying in their wake. You realize you're clutching your fork like a weapon. Funny, really, armed with nothing but stainless steel and a side of paranoia. Joke number 1. You wonder if Yelp reviews mention this. Great ambience, but the staff keeps collapsing space-time near my table. February 5th, would not recommend brunch. Joke number 2. You imagine the syrup being sold in tiny bottles at gift shops. Authentic chronosap. Warning. May contain glimpses of alternate use. Joke number 3. You think about asking for ketchup instead, just to see if cosmic paradoxes are as terrified of Heinz as toddlers are. But beneath the humor, a question gnaws. If the syrup really does show all outcomes, could it reveal the one where your grandfather lives without paradox, without being erased by your fork or your hesitation? Or does every pour end in him fading out anyway, like ink washed from a page? The pitcher rattles slightly, as though impatient. Your hand hovers over it, trembling. Your grandfather shakes his head. You're looking for an answer that doesn't exist. That's the paradox. The more you search the loophole, the tighter it closes. One of the alien waiters, suddenly slams a tray onto the counter. Everyone freezes, even your grandfather. The sound is sharp, metallic, final. Then the waiter speaks, voice like static on a dead channel. Every loop needs a pour, they say. Without it, the syrup curdles. The diner rots. Choose or watch everything collapse. You glance out the diner's window. The void beyond is changing. The stars outside flicker, wink out one by one, like candles snuffed in a draft. Darkness seeps inward, pressing against the glass, eager to crawl inside. You grab the pitcher before you can think twice. The liquid sloshes, viscous and alive, light bending inside it. Slowly you tilt. The syrup falls in slow motion, thick threads spiraling onto the pancake surface. Each drop blooms into visions. You see yourself as a child, tugging at your grandfather's sleeve in a kitchen. You see him old and frail, coughing in a hospital bed. You see him alive in some timelines, gone in others, erased in still more. And through it all, the pancake soaks it in, swallowing every possible future, every ghost of what could have been. The plate glows. The diner vibrates. The waiters stop moving, heads tilting in perfect unison, as though you finally said the right line in a play you didn't know you were in. Your grandfather whispers, almost reverent, "Now you've done it." The pancake shudders. You swear it takes a breath. The surface ripples, syrup shimmering like a black hole event horizon. And you realize you didn't just pour syrup. You poured time itself. And now, time is hungry. The pancake inhales again. You don't know how else to describe it. There's a definite suction, a tug in the air, like the diner has been fitted with lungs you didn't notice until now. The syrup bubbles as if boiling, though no heat radiates from the plate. Instead, it pulls warmth into itself. Your fingertips prickle, then grow numb. You glance at your grandfather, but he doesn't flinch. His eyes are locked on the pancake, wide, feverish. He whispers, "I told you not to." His fork clinks against the plate, trembling as though magnetized. The alien waiters step back in unison. Their trays tilt slightly, spilling droplets that float instead of falling. Frozen midair. For the first time, their masks of polite detachment falter. One murmurs in a voice like broken glass. The eater awakens. Here's your mainstream fact. Black holes emit something called Hawking radiation. It's faint, but over unimaginable spans of time, it makes black holes slowly evaporate. Nothing escapes them. Not light, not matter, yet even they can leak energy in the tiniest drips. Here's your fringe tidbit. There's an old conspiracy that diners, yes diners, were modeled after UFO interiors. Booths like containment pods, chrome fixtures like spacecraft hulls, pie displays like sample containment units. Ridiculous, until you're sitting in one that feels less like a restaurant and more like a holding chamber for a cosmic experiment. And here's the scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether black holes truly destroy information. If you toss a book inside, is every word erased forever? Or does the universe, in some clever hidden way, record every detail, no matter what? You wonder the same about this pancake. Every bite could be an erasure or a preservation. The syrup spreads farther now, not just on the pancake, but across the table itself. It climbs your fork, your hands, strands stretching toward your chest like sticky, living veins. The diner hums at a frequency that makes your teeth ache. Joke number 1. You think, if this ends with me paying the bill, I riot. Joke number 2. The syrup crawling onto your shirt looks uncomfortably like when toddlers smear jam everywhere. Except toddlers don't usually threaten the space-time continuum. Joke number 3. You're half tempted to yelp it again. Excellent pancakes, but side effects included loss of dimensional stability. Your grandfather suddenly slams his palm down on the table. The syrup recoils as though shocked, splattering back toward the plate. His voice is sharp, almost commanding. Enough. The diner freezes. Even the hum falters. Then, softly, he says, "You started the loop, but loops can be sealed." You stare. Sealed. He nods once, grave. You finish the pancake. The words settle in your ears like a verdict. The fork is still in your hand, heavy now, as though carved from neutron star matter. The pancake quivers, syrup glowing. Whispering possibilities you can almost hear. Versions of you eating, choking, transcending, vanishing. Versions of him surviving, dying, never existing. Your grandfather leans closer, lowering his voice. There's a reason the paradox always circles back to food. Eating is irreversible. Once you chew, once you swallow, you can't unmake the act. That's why the loop clings to pancakes. You almost laugh. Almost. Because it's absurd, but also makes too much sense. The simplest ritual, knife, fork, bite, becomes a lever that shifts universes. The alien waiters bow their heads. One whispers, "Chew carefully." Another adds, "Do not choke. That is inconvenient." The diner's windows darken further. Stars outside are gone now, replaced by something blacker than black. A horizonless void, yet it shimmers, like ink poured over glass. You realize with a cold shiver, you're not in space anymore. Space is in you. The fork shakes in your grip. Your grandfather doesn't move, doesn't touch his own food. He only stares. Every loop I've watched, I wonder whether it would be me or you holding the fork. Tonight it's you. You stab the pancake. Finally, the sound is grotesquely loud, a crack that echoes far beyond what the batter should allow. Syrup spurts upward, splattering across your face, warm, metallic, tinged with something that tastes like memory. You drag the fork free and lift a bite to your lips. It smells like burnt sugar. It smells like the first time you smelled your grandfather's aftershave. It smells like a dozen lifetimes you don't remember, but somehow ache for. Your mouth opens. The bite touches your tongue. Everything stops. The diner, the hum, the alien waiters, even your grandfather. Frozen. The pancake dissolves into pure sensation. Starlight, laughter, grief, fire, frost. You're not chewing food. You're chewing the timeline. Each grind of your molars tears open or seals a possibility. Each swallow shifts what was, what is, what could have been. Your throat tightens. You force it down. The universe ripples outward like a pebble dropped in an infinite pond. When movement returns, your grandfather looks different. His wrinkles are deeper. His hands tremble. For the first time, you wonder if the act of eating didn't just shift him in time. He exhales. Now the question is simple. He pauses, gaze drilling into yours. Do you eat again? Your tongue still tastes of burnt sugar and static. The afterimage of starlight lingering in your throat. The bite has settled into your stomach like a stone, but not heavy, more like a magnet tugging every particle of you inward. Your grandfather sits back, his face paler now, his breath uneven. He studies you as though you passed a test, or failed one, maybe both. Another bite, he says softly, and the loop tightens. Fewer doors remain open. The pancake quivers on the plate, an eager pet awaiting command. Syrup ripples outward in concentric circles, like it knows it's part of the conversation. Mainstream fact. The arrow of time, our sense that past moves the present to future, might just be an illusion created by entropy. Entropy, the tendency of systems to grow more disordered, gives us the feeling that things flow in one direction. Break entropy and you break the arrow. Fringe tidbit. There's a theory tucked in certain forums that aliens navigate not through space, but through pancakes, stacked layers of universes folded thin, sliding between them as easily as syrup seeps between cakes. They don't travel faster than light. They just travel sideways. Scully debate. Scientists still argue whether time travel must always generate paradoxes, or whether self-consistency, the idea that the universe resists contradiction, makes paradoxes impossible. Yet here you are, chewing paradox like a midnight snack. The alien waiters shuffle closer now, plates balanced like ceremonial offerings. One sets down a glass of water. It's not water. It's clear, yes, but refracts light oddly, bending the diner's neon sign into spirals. Another brings a napkin, placing it with reverence, as though you're royalty or a patient about to undergo risky surgery. You glance at your grandfather. What happens if I stop here? His lips twitch. You'll live. You'll dream. But the loop will remain hungry. And hunger spreads. You picture time itself as an endless buffet. Half-eaten dishes, leftovers, crumbs. Some loops may be licked clean, others abandoned mid-bite. If hunger spreads, then unfinished paradoxes ripple into every corner, gnawing at stability until someone finishes the meal. Joke one. You think, great. So I'm not just eating for myself, I'm catering for the multiverse. Joke two. The pancake jiggles, and you imagine humming like a phone on silent. Maybe it has notifications waiting. Universe collapse reminder. Please take a second bite. Joke three. You glance at the napkin and think, what if this is less about cleanliness and more about wiping paradox off your chin before the fabric of reality notices? You lift the fork again. Not because you want to, but because stopping feels harder than continuing. The bite comes up to your lips, trembling. You don't chew right away. You let it sit on your tongue. This one tastes different. It's lemon, sharp and clean, but under it lies something metallic, like blood or rust. When you swallow, your ears pop. The diner flickers, vanishes, returns. Your grandfather is younger. Not much. You'd say maybe 10 years shaved off. But his eyes are clearer, posture straighter. The tremor in his hand is gone. You gape. You. He holds up a finger. Don't. The loop isn't kind to commentary. The diner windows flicker too. The black void beyond fills with stars again, then drains, then fills. Like channels changing on an old TV. Faster than you can blink. You catch glimpses. Spiral galaxies collapsing. Moons cracking like eggshells. Planets colliding in fireworks. Each scene lasts no more than a second. Yet each leaves residue in your chest. As if you lived it. Your fork scrapes the plate. Without realizing it, you've carved another bite. The alien waiters sway in rhythm. One mutters. The eater advances. Another adds, watch carefully. The third bite is rarely merciful. Your grandfather closes his eyes, exhales slowly. His voice drops to a whisper. Choose carefully. You can stop if you want, but if you don't, you might not be you after. The fork pauses in midair. The pancake glows faintly, syrup pulsing like veins. The napkin lies untouched beside you, waiting, and you realize something chilling. Every loop may not just hinge on whether you eat, but how many times you choose to chew. The diner hums in a lower register, like an engine preparing for liftoff. Your fork trembles in your hand, syrup dripping in slow motion. The lights overhead buzz, flicker, then stretch into elongated bars across the ceiling, as though time itself has been put on a dimmer switch. Your grandfather clears his throat. It's steadier than before, younger still. His once gray hair now carries streaks of dark brown, creeping back like roots reclaiming a garden. He leans forward, elbows on the table, fingers laced together as though about to deliver a confession or verdict. Every paradox needs a fulcrum, he says, and I seem to be mine. Mainstream fact. Quantum mechanics allows particles to exist in superposition, states of being both here and not here, both alive and dead, until observed. Schrodinger's cat is a cliché example, but applied to a person, to history. The cat is your grandfather, observed, unobserved, flickering between presence and absence. Fringe tidbit. Whispers in conspiracy corners say some people claim to have watched relatives disappear mid-conversation. Not death, not fainting. Just a brief fuzzing at the edges of reality, like a poor TV signal. These stories often link to rumors about time experiments in underground labs. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether a paradox destroys causality or simply creates branching timelines where both outcomes exist. If both outcomes exist, your grandfather both dies and lives, both drinks his coffee and spills it, both stays and leaves. You, meanwhile, are left holding the fork. You test his words by blinking. And there it is. For a split second, he's gone. The booth opposite you is empty, coffee mug steaming faintly without an owner. Blink again and he's back, sipping, smirking, as if daring you to question your eyes. See, he says, I'm the coin flip in human form. The alien waiters keep their distance now, heads bowed, plates tucked beneath their arms. Their antennae twitch nervously, like tuning forks rattling under too much pressure. You whisper, why you? His grin is thin, tired. Because someone's story always carries a hinge. You kill me, know you. You save me, no paradox. You stall here, and the loop chews on itself forever. Joke one. You think, wow, no pressure. Just decide if Grandpa deserves to keep existing, while balancing intergalactic pancakes. Totally normal Tuesday night. Joke 2. The thought occurs that if this were a restaurant review, you'd definitely dock points for risk of erasing lineage with entree. Joke 3. You half expect Gordon Ramsay to storm into the diner, screaming, it's raw. Except he means time itself. The plate glows brighter, the pancake humming faintly in sync with your pulse. Another bite slides onto your fork without permission, as if magnetized. Your grandfather reaches out, fingers brushing the utensil. For a moment, he flickers. Older, younger, gone, present. His hand solidifies just long enough to nudge the fork away. Not yet, he warns. Too soon. But his warning feels late, because as his voice echoes, his outline fuzzes, dissolves at the edges like ink bleeding through paper. His chair squeals against the tiled floor, empty now. Your heart jerks into your throat. He's gone. The alien waiters step forward in eerie unison, trays raised like shields. One intones, the fulcrum has shifted. Another adds, observe the eater, observe the collapse. And collapse it does. The diner walls ripple, tiles twisting into impossible shapes, ketchup bottles stretching into obelisks, neon signs curving into Mobius strips. The floor tilts beneath you, but the booth stays stable, like a raft bobbing in syrupy seas. Your grandfather's coffee mug remains. Steam curls upward, spelling brief words you barely catch. Return, replace, repeat. You lunge across the table, fingers brushing the handle, warm, real, solid. But then the mug flickers. Empty booth. Full booth. Grandfather drinking. Grandfather gone. Back again. Gone again. Faster. Until he's strobing like a broken film reel. Your breath quickens. Is he dying? Is he alive? Both? Neither? The alien waiter whispers. The eater must decide. Decide what? The fork is heavy in your hand. The pancake hums louder, pulsing like a heart outside a chest. You realize with a cold clarity that every bite you take writes him or erases him. Each chew is a vote, a tally in the paradox ledger. And yet, the temptation bubbles up. What if you stop eating entirely? What if you just sit here, unmoving, and let the loop collapse on itself? But the napkin waits, untouched. The syrup pulses. The alien waiters close in. Your grandfather's voice lingers faintly in your ears, overlapping itself from younger, older, vanished versions. Choose, choose, choose. The ceiling dissolves into starlight. The diner stretches thin, like a rubber band pulled to its limit, until the walls are translucent membranes holding back entire galaxies. You're still clutching the fork, still staring at the pulsing pancake, but now your booth floats somewhere between Saturn's rings and a cosmic Titapool light. Your grandfather flickers again, then stabilizes. No longer sitting, but standing outside the booth, younger than you've ever seen him. He's maybe 20, eyes full of reckless confidence, shoulders square like a man unscarred by paradox. Funny thing about time, he says, voice brighter, almost teasing. It doesn't care about your hunger. It cares about your choices. And you, unfortunately, can't sit in neutral forever. Mainstream fact. Physicists studying wormholes theorize that, if traversable, they might allow shortcuts not just across space, but across time. The catch: stability would require exotic matter with negative energy density, something never observed in nature. Fringe tidbit. Some enthusiasts claim wormholes already exist, hidden inside neutron stars, disguised as magnetic storms. A few even argue Bermuda Triangle disappearances are wormhole-related. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether free will can exist in a block universe, where all past, present, and future events are fixed, unchangeable, simply laid out like pages of a book. If the book is already written, what exactly are you choosing? The pancake pulses harder, golden syrup orbiting its edges like Saturn's rings. You can hear it whisper, a voice layered with static, almost singing. You eat, he lives. You starve, he fades. You flip, the loop resets. You glance at your grandfather, this younger version, confident, sharp. And if I break the loop, you ask. He laughs, a sound too loud for this fragile booth suspended in space. Break time? That's like breaking pancakes. You can cut them, fold them, burn them, but they're still pancakes. Just flatter, Messier, and probably stuck to the pan. Joke one. You think you're way underqualified for this whole determine the fate of space-time gig. Honestly, you'd rather be choosing toppings at IHOP. Joke two. For a fleeting second, you wonder if choosing waffles instead would have avoided all this nonsense. Waffles have grids. Grids imply order. Pancakes, chaos. Joke three. You catch yourself muttering. If paradoxes were calories, I have already gained 50 pounds. The booth trembles. The coffee mug floats upward, rotating slowly like a planet. Its steam spelling new words. Exchange, substitute, surrender. Your grandfather tilts his head. It doesn't have to be me. Your throat goes dry. What do you mean? Fulcrums can transfer. Paradoxes are greedy but not loyal. They'll take whoever sits close enough to fire. If you want out, get yourself. Swap places. Let the loop hinge on you instead. The pancake hums in agreement. The fork vibrates in your hand. Eager. You picture it. You become the fulcrum. You flickering in and out, your existence strobing like his. Your memories warping, your presence debated by alien waiters in diners across time. Maybe he lives. Maybe you vanish. Maybe both. The waiters shuffle closer, antennae dipping reverently. One whispers. The eater considers sacrifice. The loop leans forward. You grip the napkin at last. The inked equations squirm, realigning into new patterns, not mathematics anymore, but instructions. Sign here to transfer. Your grandfather watches, expression unreadable. He's young, but weighted with all his future flickers. You don't have to, he says. But if you don't, someone else will. Time is always hungry. You press the napkin flat. The fork is heavy, the pancake brighter. Choice presses in on you like Saturn's rings, beautiful and crushing. You whisper, "If I take your place, do I still exist?" He shrugs, and for a moment his outline doubles. Young man, old man, vanishing man. Depends who's watching. The diner tilts. Galaxies lean closer. The pancake pulses like a heartbeat counting down. You're seconds from signing the napkin, from transferring the fulcrum, but your hand trembles. Because the deeper question isn't, can I survive? Am I willing to let him survive instead? The pen doesn't exist until you need it. 1 second. There's only your trembling hand. The napkin covered in slithering symbols, and the fork humming like a tuning fork in a cathedral of stars. The next, a fountain pen materializes between your fingers, heavy metallic, etched with spirals that look suspiciously like syrup drips. You hesitate, because everyone knows you never sign anything in diners that float between galaxies. It's a rule, probably, somewhere. Yet here you are, the ink already pooling at the nib like a black hole waiting to swallow your name. The waiter leans forward, tray balanced on one spindly arm. Careful, it murmurs, voice soft as cosmic microwave background is. A signature here is in ink. It's arithmetic. It calculates. You glance back at your grandfather, still flickering, his outline tearing like old film. Calculate what? You ask. The waiter's antenna curls, tapping the napkin. Everything. All meals, all timelines, all debts. It will tally the paradox bill. Mainstream fact. Black holes really do act like cosmic accountants. They keep meticulous records of everything that falls in, measured as information encoded on their event horizons. This is called the holographic principle. Fringe tidbit. A small but vocal crowd of theorists once claimed that the universe itself is just a giant black hole, with everything inside being the ultimate receipt. Some say déjà vu is the universe double-charging you. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether the information paradox has been resolved. Does data really escape black holes through Hawking radiation, or is it permanently lost? If it's lost, then maybe even the universe keeps some tabs closed forever. The napkin is no longer paper. It's stretching, glowing, its edges unraveling into equations. Rows and columns appear, like a restaurant check, but infinite. Each line item lists something impossible. Breakfast hashtag 14, 713. Timeline collapsed, syrup spilled. Lunch hashtag 22, 908. Butterfly wing caused asteroid impact. Dinner hashtag 31, 111. Grandfather erased, eater unsettled. Every action you've ever taken, or could have taken, is price and paradox points. The total scrolls off the napkin into infinity. You let out a shaky laugh. You expect me to pay this? The waiter doesn't blink. Someone always pays. Not with money, with existence. Joke one. You never thought intergalactic diners would be so strict about their tab policy. Next time, you're bringing coupons. Joke two. For a fleeting second, you wonder if tipping 20% across timelines means tipping yourself in alternate universes. Joke three. You mumble, if time really is money, I've been broke since high school. The pancake pulses, brighter now, like it's listening. You lift the fork without realizing. The prongs catch starlight. Your grandfather steps closer, one flickering hand brushing your shoulder. Don't look at the bill too long, he says. It'll convince you you're smaller than you are. You tear your eyes from the infinite total. And if I don't sign, the waiter straightens, antenna twitching. Then the meal goes unclosed. The debt rolls forward. Someone else pays. Who, you ask? The alien smiles thinly. The ones you love most. That's how the paradox survives. Your chest tightens. The napkin hums now. Equations reshaping themselves into your name, waiting for your hand to trace the letters. The diner flickers again. Galaxies outside the glass stretch thin. The booths across the aisle begin to populate. Other versions of you, hunched over their own napkins, chewing through their own timelines. Some are laughing. Some are crying. One is already gone, replaced by an empty seat and a faint outline of smoke. You whisper, they're all me? The waiter nods once. And they've all signed or refused in their own ways. This bill is never new, only renewed. Your grandfather tightens his jaw, trying to stand solid in the flicker. Don't let them trick you into thinking it's only about numbers. This is about who gets to keep living and who gets written off. The napkin glows hotter, tugging your gaze. You picture yourself signing, transferring the paradox, paying the bill in your own flesh. You picture refusing, letting someone else, maybe him, maybe countless others, be charged instead. Both choices hum like parallel tracks on a cosmic jukebox. You wonder which song you'll get stuck listening to forever. The fork shakes in your hand. The pancake beats like a drum. And the pen waits. The pen does not wait politely. It begins to thrum like a heart in your palm. Pulsing ink that isn't quite liquid, isn't quite shadow. The more you resist, the heavier it becomes, until your wrist trembles as though gravity itself has singled you out for punishment. Your grandfather flickers once, then twice, then steadies enough to meet your eyes. They don't tell you this part, he murmurs, voice full of static. The signature isn't just yours. It echoes backward. It loops. It redefines what it means to have been. The pancake glows brighter, syrup dripping upward instead of down, as though time itself is unsure which way breakfast is supposed to flow. Mainstream fact. In physics, closed time-like curves are hypothetical loops in space-time where you can return to an earlier moment. They're mathematically possible solutions to Einstein's equations, but remain unproven in reality. Fringe tidbit. Some conspiracy theorists swear déjà vu is evidence of these loops. Every flicker of recognition is, to them, a reminder that you've signed the bill before, just not here. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether paradoxes can actually exist within closed time-like curves. Some say self-consistency saves reality from contradictions. Others say paradoxes mean the whole thing collapses. The napkin unfurls itself across the table, no longer bound by diner edges. The bill stretches down the aisle, over plates and cups, over other versions of you staring blankly at their own signatures. It slithers toward the kitchen doors, under them, and into an infinite back room where stoves hiss with nebulae. The waiter watches, tray now trembling, antenna bending under the weight of your indecision. If you sign, it whispers, you close your loop, the universe adjusts, no loose ends. And if I don't, the waiter glances at the glowing pancake. Its surface ripples, forming the faint silhouette of an hourglass. Then breakfast never ends. You grip the pen tighter. The thought of eternal breakfast sounds harmless until you remember Section 5, when you looped endlessly through eggs cracking and syrup refilling. You feel bile rise, the memory of chewing forever. Your grandfather grimaces. They want you docile. They want you to believe the bill is law. But listen, child, what if debt is just another word for leash? You whisper back, then how do I break it? He leans in, flickering dangerously. You don't break it. You rewrite it. Don't sign their napkins. Write something new. The words feel impossible, but your hand itches. Joke one. You can't help but think that if life were just about rewriting bills, you have saved a fortune on cable subscriptions. Joke two. For a second, you consider signing Mickey Mouse and letting Disney deal with the paradox lawyers. Joke three. You mumble, if my entire existence is an unpaid tab, at least I deserve a free refill. The napkin pulses again. Your name glows brighter. The diner flickers harder. Ceiling lights blinking out one by one. Booths collapsing into streaks of raw starlight. You press the pen to the napkin. The ink floods forward not in letters, but in spirals. You don't write your name. You write a pancake. Yes, a pancake. Circles layered over circles. Fork-shaped lines stabbing outward like solar flares. The napkin shivers as the bill rearranges itself, the infinite tally twisting into breakfast geometry. The waiter gasps, antenna curling violently. That's not authorized. The pancake on your plate surges upward, breaking into concentric rings of light. Syrup droplets rain like meteors. The pen in your hand cracks down the middle, spilling black stardust. Your grandfather steadies, almost solid now. Good. You've turned their equation into a meal again. You've made it edible. And indeed, the infinite bill begins to shrink, spiraling tighter and tighter until it fits on your plate as a steaming pancake stack. The napkin burns away, leaving only crumbs of ash. The waiter steps back, tray clattering. Do you understand what you've done? You've unpriced yourself. There is no cost now, no closure. The diner around you murmurs as countless other versions of you look up from their own plates. Some cheer softly, others look terrified. A few simply vanish, as if erased by the lack of debt. The pancake stack trembles, glowing faintly. It is no longer food nor bill. It is a possibility. Your grandfather grins faintly, as though he hasn't done so in centuries. Eat, he says, and for the first time, you're not sure whether he means literally or metaphorically. You raise your fork, hovering over the stack of paradox pancakes. The glow intensifies, syrup swirling into miniature galaxies, butter cubes pulsing like newborn stars. You realize something. This isn't about paying. It's about deciding what kind of hunger defines you. The fork lowers. The fork pierces a stack, and it feels like skewering a planet. Heat rises up the tines, buzzing your hand, as though the cosmos doesn't appreciate being carved into neat triangles. You slice downward anyway, lifting a piece that steams with glow that doesn't belong to butter or batter, but to something older, hungrier. You place it in your mouth. It tastes like time itself, sweet, bitter, sour, salty, all at once, like every meal you've ever had compressed into a single bite. You chew, and for a heartbeat you sense every breakfast across history collapsing into your jaw. Roman soldiers gnawing barley cakes, astronauts squeezing rehydrated eggs from silver packets, some future Martian family grilling algae pancakes under a dome. And then, just as suddenly, the taste is gone. The pancake is ash. Your grandfather leans forward, voice sharp. That's the point. It doesn't nourish you, it resets you. Mainstream fact. Cosmologists believe the universe itself may eventually undergo a heat death, a state where all energy is evenly spread, leaving no possibility for work, no meals, no movement. Fringe tidbit. A few mystics insist that déjà vu during breakfast, scrambled eggs especially, is a sign of the universe resetting you after a timeline hiccup. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether time itself has a direction, the arrow of time, or if our sense of flow is just how entropy feels from the inside. The pancake dissolves on your plate, leaving behind an engraving, a spiral signature, not yours but close enough to sting. Your grandfather stares at it like a man watching his own grave being dug. You rewrote the bill, he says slowly, but they'll come for you, because now you've eaten from outside the menu. The waiter reappears, tray now bent like a crescent moon. Its eyes glow faintly violet, antennae trembling as if caught between applause and reprimand. You've tasted the paradox. It whispers, "Congratulations, you've eaten your own cause." The diner begins to crumble again, but differently this time. Not into starlight, but into sticky threads of syrup. Walls melting into golden rivers that cling to your shoes. Plates bubble into suns. Silverware lengthens into comets. You stumble, fork still in hand, syrup dragging you down like tar. Joke one. You grumble that this is the stickiest apocalypse imaginable, and you'd rather have gone out in a respectable asteroid collision. Joke two. You curse under your breath about how you're never going to get this out of your laundry. Joke three. You imagine Yelp reviews complaining. Great pancakes, but timeline dissolved into syrup. 1 star. Your grandfather tries to stand but collapses, half transparent now, his body peeling into ribbons of static. You need to choose, he croaks. Do you want to pay the bill, or do you want to pay the bill? The words sting. To pay means closure. To be means endless recurrence, forever replaying the paradox. The syrup floods higher. The waiter lifts its tray like a lifeboat, motioning you aboard. You've crossed too many loops already. Sign or drown. But then the pancake stack rises from the syrup, glowing stronger, pulsing like a beacon. It offers no words, only heat. Mainstream science again. Wormholes, hypothetical tunnels through space-time, are predicted by Einstein's equations, but they exist. They require negative energy to stay open. Fringe lore. Some people online argue that IHOP was originally a secret government experiment in wormhole dining. Infinite House of Pancakes. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether a traveler through a wormhole could avoid paradoxes altogether, or whether causality inevitably trips you. The pancake stack grows taller, towering now like a cosmic lighthouse. Syrup cascades around it in golden waves. You hear whispers within the glow. Not your grandfather's, not the waiter's, but your own voice echoing from other loops. You never paid. You always signed. You are hungry. Your grandfather grips your wrist with what solidity he has left. Child, this is where it ends, or it never ends. If you eat it again, you become it. If you refuse, maybe, just maybe, you get to leave. The fork shakes in your hand. You lift it toward the towering stack. The syrup tide pulls harder, sucking at your legs. The waiter cries, "Sign, sign, sign," before it swallows everything. And all around you, every version of you in every booth screams the same question in unison. Are you still hungry? The fork touches the pancake again. The glow shatters into a million fragments of light. The diner collapses. You fall, and in the syrup darkness, you feel the loop bending back, preparing to deliver you once more to that first bite of paradox breakfast. Unless you rewrite again. You land not with a crash, but with a quiet thud, like a plate being gently set down on a counter. The darkness recedes, syrup pulling back like a low tide. You're standing at the edge of nothing, the fork still in your hand, sticky but glowing faintly. The pancake tower has dissolved into mist, yet you feel it lingering on your tongue, that taste of compressed time, sweeter than it should have been. The waiter hovers nearby, tray bent beyond recognition, its antenna flickering like failing neon. Well, it says softly, you've eaten enough, more than most. Your grandfather's outline drifts forward, but he's barely there now, a phantom etched in static and regret. His voice is a whisper carried by cosmic air. You carry it now, my hunger, my paradox, my unfinished bill. It's yours to balance or to break. You look down, expecting another receipt. Instead, there's a pen floating in your palm. No paper, no bill, just a tool glowing faintly blue. Mainstream fact. In quantum mechanics, some interpretations suggest that reality doesn't settle until it's observed, meaning the act of measurement writes the outcome. Fringe tidbit. There's a belief that pens found in dreams are messages from alternate selves, little nudges across timelines. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether free will can truly exist in a deterministic universe, or if every choice is simply the unfolding of prior conditions. The syrup sea shimmers, then hardens into glass, stretching beneath your feet like an infinite floor. You see reflections of yourself stretching outward, younger, older, stranger, hungrier. Some hold pancakes, others forks. Some hold nothing at all. Each one watches you, waiting. Your grandfather's reflection mouths words you can't hear, and then fades. The waiter lowers its tray like a curtain call. One more choice. Eat, sign, or walk away. But whichever you choose, it echoes forever. You stare at the pen. Your hand trembles. A part of you wants to fling it away. Let it spin endlessly into the void. Another part of you imagines scribbling your name across the glass floor, rewriting everything. But then you hear it, a whisper from the reflections. Just walk. For once, walk. Joke one. You mutter that if you had known breakfast came with existential paperwork, you'd have stuck with cereal. Joke two. You wonder the diner has a loyalty program. Eat 10 paradoxes, get the 11th free. Joke 3. You decide that if you ever survive, you'll never complain about undercooked pancakes again. You take a step forward. The glass ripples beneath your shoe, but it doesn't break. Another step. The pen dissolves into light, melting into your skin like ink. Your hand glows for a moment, then settles. The reflections fade, one by one, until only the void remains. No diner, no waiter, no grandfather. Just you, walking across a floor that stretches farther than thought. And in that silence, you finally understand. The paradox was never about the pancakes or the receipt or even your grandfather. It was about hunger itself, the need to consume, to loop, to repeat. You breathe in, slowly. Exhale, and the void softens, curling around you like warm blankets, syrup dark fading to velvet night. Mainstream science, last fact. The cosmic microwave background is a faint afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched across the sky. whispering the universe's earliest memory. Fringe lore. Some claim you can hear it as a hum in your dreams if you fall asleep listening to static. Scholarly debate. Scientists still argue whether the universe began once, or whether beginnings are just illusions born from loops we can't escape. You stop walking. You close your eyes. The last echoes of the diner fade away, leaving only the quiet hush of cosmic static. For once, there is no bill, no fork, no hunger, just a simple, dizzying relief of not choosing. And that's when you drift, finally, into rest. You walked far enough now, through the syrup seas and across the glass floors of possibility. The diner's lights have dimmed, the chatter of infinite versions of you is quieted, and even the fork in your hand has gone still. There's no bill left to sign, no stack of pancakes glowing with impossible hunger, just space, endless and quiet, waiting to cradle you. As you breathe, let your chest rise and fall with the rhythm of the cosmos itself. Imagine the stars pulsing in time with your heartbeat, their distant light arriving gently, not rushing, not demanding, just arriving as it always has. Each inhale carries you deeper into calm, and each exhale loosens the threads of paradox that try to tangle you. The grandfather who chased you through timelines is gone now, folded back into memory. The waiter with its endless receipts has stepped out of view. You don't need to eat, you don't need to pay. You only need to rest. Scientists still argue about whether the universe will end in fire, in ice, or in nothingness. But none of that matters tonight. What matters is the soft hum of the background, the whisper that everything, for now, is still here, still holding you. Let yourself drift. Imagine the diner's booth becoming a bed, syrup dark turning into night dark, the fork dissolving into silence. Imagine the loop closing, not to trap you, but to protect you, like a circle drawn gently around a dream. And as the circle fades, so does the weight of hunger. You are not the bill. You are not the paradox. You are simply the dreamer. Good night. End of video. Sweet dreams.